Hello and welcome. Today is June 25th, 2024, and this is the Kubeflow community call. This call is being recorded and it is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. We have an agenda today. As usual, we will start with the release update. I believe we have Ricardo is here, perhaps has audio, and we're going to start with the 1.9. Ricardo, are you about?
Yes, Josh, I'm here. So just a quick recap on the 1.9 updates. We've been discussed in the past weeks about having an RC2 release to get all the bug fixes from notebooks, working group, from training operator, cat tip, um, what else? Some changes in manifest that we got to fix. And we're almost ready to reach RC2. I believe by end of this day, probably tomorrow, we'll get RC2 release. But if I have any other blockers, I'll keep you guys posted on anything. But I'm very optimistic that we're gonna reach that date, maybe tomorrow, to get RC2 release, and then all the distributions can test if all the bug fixes are good to go or not. We're still working on getting Kubeflow 1.9 final release to be available probably July 22nd. Yes, that is. July 22nd might be the final release date for Kubeflow 1.9. We're still working on agreements. If it looks good, that timeline with the working group leads, with the distribution owners. But again, I'm very optimistic to see final release date to be July 22nd. We also started that doc for announcing Kubeflow 1.9. There are some comments in there that need some attention. So please, all the working group leads, take a look at the blog post and the slide deck. We really appreciate your feedback, your help with filling up everything we want to announce for Kubeflow 1.9. I think that's it for now. Yeah, I believe we have everything for RC2. I got us ACK for all the remaining working groups. Probably we'll have another update from Kserve Models Web App finally. After so many release candidates, we'll have some updates on that. I just need to figure out how to publish the new image, but probably we'll have some progress towards Kserve Models Web Apps. So stay tuned on the RC2 release. Any questions, comments? Feel free to chime in.
So the 22nd is a Monday.
That's right.
We tend not to do great on delivering things on Mondays.
Okay. Yeah, I can figure out another day for the release. We can discuss in the next release meeting on what's the best date that fits in the Kubeflow final release date.
Yeah. All right. And then we might want to circle with the CNCF, see if there are any events or anything we can dovetail into so we can get because we're reaching out to the CNCF now to ask them about helping with our marketing. We may want to see if there's something going on in the CNCF that could amplify the messaging either through an event or some type of promotion that they're doing. Just food for thought as we start to put this together. But I think the 22nd, that week of the 22nd sounds reasonable. I don't know that we could pull it forward. And I don't know if we'd want to into the week of the 15th. but I don't think we'd want to push it back and perhaps push, if we miss the 22nd, then we end up being on that cusp of moving it into August, which I really don't want it. I prefer that we stay in the July timeframe. So I think we should hold firm on the week or the 22nd itself. We just need to make sure that we, can get through all the checks, because that's meaning people are working on the weekend to deliver it on Monday, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I understand what to say, Josh. We're working on our best to have those timelines to be achieved. Um, I feel like RC2 is almost ready to go. And with RC2, I believe we can make a lot more progress towards the final release. I'm always very optimistic on the dates, but I believe this time we'll get finally a good and stable release for 1.9, and then plan for the July 22nd, maybe a week before, to have the final release already, published.
Yeah, that all makes sense. So if we have RC2 the 25th, then typically we get some comments, we have to cut another release, and then the final, or just the final. So with July 4th in there, have you thought about when that final release actually gets cut? Is that sometime before July 22nd? Is that going to be, the week of the 15th or the week of the 8th? Is that what you're thinking?
That's right. But in fact, I need help with the working group leads and the working group liaisons to help me uh, post me any updates if their working groups are ready to go final. And then I can sync up with the manifest working group lead to sync those manifests and release and have the final release on time for the July 22nd timeline.
All right, so I just want to reaffirm to everybody, so the working group and the distribution teams know, we need to get RC2 out this week, because next week in the States, at least, we have a holiday and a lot of people will be out a lot of this week coming up July 1st, which means that actually the week of July 8th, we have to have all the distribution testing and the feedback done so we can do that final release the week of the 8th. We get our stuff together during the 15th and we announce during the 22nd. So we are now at crunch time, right? With RC2, it does need to get finished this week, and sooner in the week better, because it'll give the distributions time to test this week before the holiday. All right. The blog post and the slide deck, we talked about potentially the slide deck. What do you need from people on the slide deck?
So I think for the blog post, we need to review all the contents for each working group to see if it reflects exactly what we're expecting to see in the 1.9 release. And the slide deck, we need some highlights from each working group, like if they want to bring any details on what they are bringing in terms of new features in their respective working groups. Um, I think we discussed yesterday that we'll probably need the KSC members to also step in to show up uh, some of the general changes we made in the docs and the website as well, like the new diagrams and the new components as well. So the draft doc has a lot of comments. Please take a look and see if there's anything that's assigned to you, working group leads, and help us be going deeper on the details on each working group and reflect that changes also in the slide deck. So that's what I'm expecting from the next weeks to have. from the working group leads.
Yeah, I mean, the way I read and way I've looked at things, it looks like the LLM API perhaps may be one of the top features, model registries there, but it's still alpha. So I don't know if that can be our top feature. And the other thing I read the other day is it seemed as though we had a delivery with Ray. Is that correct? An integration with Ray that was delivered? I read that in the PowerPoint slide.
Yeah, I'd like to get Julius to chime in on that, but from what I got is that we have a lot of add-on components that are out of date, and what the manifest team did was simply upgrading all of these add-ons to latest releases. That's basically Bento ML, and I expect that Ray is one of these components. So it's pretty much version upgrades, but there's nothing in terms of integration with the overall distribution. Maybe we can plan this for the next release, but my understanding is that it's just bumping releases for the add-on components.
All right, so one last comment on this, and I'm just saying this for the community because in the blog post we talk about testing with I think it's 126 to 129, but then we reference that perhaps it'll work with 130. This is Kubernetes 130. I think we have to be kind of somewhat explicit about what our support is on each of these, right? Because if somebody goes and starts to use 130, we're going to need to be able to say whether they're going to get support from the community or not, or where, what our number one most focused support will be. And I think it is with 129 where we've done most of the testing. So I get the feeling that we can work with a lot of different variants of K8s. I also know that we have limited ability to fix bugs. And if somebody comes back and says, hey, can you fix something on 126, and we have somebody else asking to fix something on 130, we're going to get stretched, right? So I just would like us to really think about how we're going to use that verbiage in the blog post that we put out, because that sets an expectation. Understand?
Sure. It, what I can tell you is that our target release was 129, but we know that not all distributions relies on 129 yet. So we're trying to bring 127 to 129. And with that, we can cover as much distributions as possible with whatever is their matrices of Kubernetes releases they support. But I would say like that all of our testing was against 129 APIs. So if it's
Okay.
working for 129, I expect that it works with 128 and 127 as well.
Understand. Thanks for clarifying that and helping through. All right. Anything else? Questions on 1.9 from anybody in the community? All right. Main agenda. We at the Kubeflow, at the Kubernetes 10th anniversary celebration in Dallas had a Kubeflow review. I would say we had, I don't know, 40 or 50 people there. It was a very interactive discussion. There was a lot of questions about how to use large language models. One question came up from a engineering lead at one of the local companies here about, do they see Kubeflow helping in continuous training? And is anybody actually seeing anyone doing, does continuous trading actually exist in the wild? I thought it was a good question. We don't talk about, we talk a lot about what version of, cert manager we're using, but sometimes we don't talk about things like continuous training. I just wanted to ask if anybody has done continuous training, continuous deployment, anything like that in with Kubeflow, and might want to engage and talk to their experience with this potential Kubeflow interested party. Any hands-on with
The
this?
continuous deployment one, we do have some conversations. We did, Josh, with the model registry perspective.
Right.
So, there is I don't think we have right now, but the proposal is, when somebody registers a champion model or a champion model version, then they already defined all the deployment characteristics into it. We provided some kind of a mechanism where, we could hook it up the deployment, a continuous deployment of it, right? So we're not there yet, but it's something we have been thinking about, and it's on the roadmap for us.
Okay, well, that's good feedback. I just wonder if there are any primitives inside of Kubeflow that makes this easier for other people that are actually looking and wanting to do this. One kind of feedback I got, I see we have some folks from NVIDIA on the line. This particular gentleman told me it used to take them quarters to test their models, to train their models, to train their models. Now with the new NVIDIA GPUs, he was like, oh, sometimes we can do it in a week or even a day. The remarkable speed increases that are happening and the cost increases and reductions that are happening with some of these new chipsets that are being in may change some of the workflows and both from a cost standpoint and maybe the issue is no longer technology or infra cost, but could actually become, can our process actually afford this type of, and is it even better to have this continuous training, continuous integration? I don't know, maybe so continuous deployment. Maybe there are certain use cases where this just makes a ton of sense. I've always seen it the other way around. So anyway, I just thought that would be an interesting topic for people. Sounds like we need to see if anybody's interested in pursuing this further, and we can engage. All right, let's go on to the GSOC Summer or Mentor Summit. Who's got this? Ramesh?
Yeah, I got that, Josh. Thank you for that mention. So I have posted in the GSOC Mentors channel. There is going to be a GSOC Mentors Summit that's going to be happening in Sunnyvale, California on October 4th to October 6th. I know we have many mentors who have signed up as, and mentoring our wonderful GSOC students in the community. Unfortunately, Google only allows one mentor to go to the Mentor Summit. So we need to figure out who wants to go there. I know one person has raised his hand and expressed interest in going, but I wanted to be fair and open to all the mentors. And if there are more than one person, then we need to figure it out how we're going to tie break who wants to go there. There is a typically Google does give a $1,200 stipend for you to going to that summit, but I can't promise you that I can get you that $1,200 if you are the one who are going to go there, because of how we are trying to collect at least some of these funds from the Google. It's not coming directly to us. It goes somewhere in the CNCF, and it's way complicated. I don't even understand. So I believe they pay for your hotel and meals. So it's definitely the ticket and get there is on you. Still, I mean, 1,200 should cover those, but I can't promise you that. So if anybody who is interested in wanting to go to that, please reach out to me on Slack. We'll figure it out what the next steps will be for that. Any questions from anybody? It's just open for the mentors, by the way. Not
Yeah, I will say this, Google has hosted a lot of the events for the community. I know this is for the GSOC, but I've always found them to be very well run. I found them very worth the time that I spent when they were engaged, heavily in the Kubeflow community. So, if you're kind of at the edge, hey, do I want to take a weekend and do this? I get it. But on the other side, I would say, I've found that they're well run. You meet a lot of people, and it really is a good use of your time if you really feel like you're going to move in this direction. So thanks for bringing that up, Ramesh. I think it's a valuable asset to the community to take advantage
And
of.
it's a perk for the, our hardworking mentors, right? It's a nice, it's supposedly very good technical, a good summit there. So you get to learn a lot. I mean, you get to meet with the peer, networking event too. So it's a good all around. All right. Yeah, please reach out to me on Slack. If we are done with that topic, the next one is also mine. Can I jump into that?
Do you want me to open this document, or you just want to talk to it?
I'll just start to it because I will have the members, community members read through it at their leisure anyways. I'm wanted to bring a proposal, a new project proposal in front of the community. Red Hat and IBM research, we've been working on a project for a while. Actually, the origination goes even beyond. It started out in our decision engine frameworks that multiple years ago about the explainable AI explainability, right? We are constantly talking about companies, hey, how is bias and fairness is detected in a model, or hey, how are the anomalies, or if there is a data drift happening in a model, or the new ones we are looking into is how is somebody detoxify detoxify the content we are serving, right? We know there is lots of standards and GPDR kind of in Europe, you have certain restrictions on what you can and can't do. So in those things, keeping those in perspective, we have this project called Trusty AI, which is also already a community project on its own. It's not governed by any currently it's not governed by any organization. What we are looking to do is my two main focuses is get it into a more independence governance body. That's one, our goals. And second one is we wanted to get more exposure to this project. So that's why I'm here. Looking at, I'm trying to see if I can get one of my top project members can come in and give you guys a 10 to 15 minute presentation of what it can do, and give you then we can see if there is a viability of that becoming a Kubeflow project going forward. I included a document in that in the community meeting notes, which kind of goes in a small blog, kind of an article, kind of it goes in, talks about what it does currently and some of our future plans. There are a couple brilliant PhD folks behind it, and there is a lot more IBM research folks are behind it. So it's definitely is a very hot topic in AI. I just want to gauge the interest here and see if this is something that we want to think about for Kubeflow. If you guys think that, hey, yeah, this sounds like an interesting idea, I can invite these folks for giving a 10 to 15 minute presentation, and then we can decide what we want to do as a community going forward. So I'm just here to asking for the opportunity for a 10 to 15-minute presentation. That's it right now for today. Oh, you're talking on mute, Josh.
I'm supportive of this next step of investigation to where we can get to a place where we can make a milestone that the community can then review this with some form of metrics to say, hey, have enough people looked at it? Do the users want it? Is it mature enough? Does it fit well? Whatever these metrics are that we're going to put in to say, okay, does this look like another project that we want to bring into the community? I'm bullish on growing a community this way, but I'm also cognizant that there's a lot of projects out there that may want to join Kubeflow, and we probably do need to make some form of process. Now, in this, I would say that, the folks from Red Hat in particular who have backed the model registry have done a very good job of doing what they say they're going to do. And I've had a lot of folks that have brought projects to the Kubeflow community who have been excited at the beginning, and after a few months it wears out and they don't deliver. That hasn't been the case on some of the other what we've seen in the model registry. And I think this explainability is a space that really does hamper the ability for people to make money with Kubeflow and with ML, because if you can't put it into production and you can't explain it, you can't benefit from it. So I think there's an argument here that this is a valid and a valuable extension in with Kubeflow, and perhaps could become a core component. And I think that expertise and networking that we would grow also fits in well. But I'm interested in other people's opinion.
I just want to throw in one more comment from your earlier comment there, Josh. You were talking about the continuous training, right? In terms of that, I mean, it's not something we have done internally ourselves at Red Hat yet, but something that has been brought up by our customers also is, hey, how would you if your model is in production, right? We are already doing this. We are working towards the data drift kind of a techniques. When you do see the data drift is happening, capture those inputs and retrain that, and and like a continuous cycle, right? The input is coming in, you see the drift, and you take those inputs and feed it in again and retrain it and feed it back. So it's eventually that we will come to that state, but these kind of tools give you a pathway to those. So I'm sure that one is another year away for the automation and everything, but it's a possibility of chasing those kind of use cases. Right? It's at least will be possible. Otherwise, we would just say that no, you can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you look at the feedback that's been from the community, especially in the surveys, a lot is about monitoring. But what the hell does monitoring really mean of a model? Is that looking at the infrastructure? Is that looking at the performance? How quickly the bad answer comes back? Or is the answer any good? And did it tell my customer to go take a flying leap? I mean, maybe we need some of these guardrails in here, and I think it's more and more evident as we rely more with LLMs and other types of things. So I think this is great. I'm supportive of it. I'm just saying that, again, let's make eyes wide open. Let's make a couple of checkpoints that, like we did with the model registry, logically and openly go towards this, give people the chance to comment, try to make sure that we get enough feedback. And as you guys have learned with the model registry, I think it really helps to have a users engaged and adding comment in, so it's not just hey, I think this is a good idea and it sounds good, but you know, what happens in practice tends to be different, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you know, if after the presentation, we will, if it's okay, we will put the proposal together and then we can have all these discussions there.
fantastic. All right. Anything else? So when do you think you'd like to do this presentation? Like next
I
week?
can bring them in
Next week will be a
next
slow week.
community meeting if you have time.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's, I think the week of July 4th, that may be a light week, but, right, I think next week, but it's early enough in the week, maybe people are showing up, right? And it'll be recorded anyway.
Oh, next week is the July 4th one.
Yeah.
So maybe oh, so that's on the 2nd. So let's put it on the 9th, July 9th.
Yeah, that works for me. Sorry to be so, US centric, but I am an American, so July 4th is big deal for me. Anyway, I understand we're an international community. But still, everything's recorded. So, if we do it on the 9th, I think that's fantastic. Or whatever, I think it's the 9th, but that following one. All right, anything else that we need to talk about, from, you know, anything that spurred anybody's idea, or are we okay with this, Ramesh? Are we good to move on from AI explained? Okay. Anybody else have any, comments, questions, concerns that are going on in the community? I know folks want to have a new format for this and want a new kind of manager of this meeting. So I'm glad to find out where that went. I think there was some discussion at the end of last meeting. I didn't hear it, but any other topics that people want to bring up? Okay, good. Look, I'm glad to close this meeting out early. You know, we used to do this meeting every other week, then we moved to every week. It is one of those things that when you do it every week, it's harder to prepare the topics and have, you know, as much going on. I know that often we dig into the release details. Kind of important here now that we're in the final month of the release cycle. And, you know, one of the things that really is going to be important as we go forward, as we close out this call, is that, you know, Ricardo has done a fantastic job getting us to this point. We have seen other release managers run into a challenge where we get to this final, well, we think we're near the final, and then people bring in new data, or we find new problems and we kind of spin out. Right. And we have to do one or two more, you know, RCs. It doesn't look like we're on that path right now, but I've got to, you know, just ask again, if we can finish this one out, on time, on schedule going forward here, I think it really is, going to help the release team have a good experience. So, I just implore you to, you know, pitch in and do the thing. James Wu, anything from you? I see you joined. I know you have other, or anybody, Janu, do you guys have anything to say? All right, guys, I'm gonna close this out. I'm gonna ask one time, you know, anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Going once? Going twice? All right, good meeting. Thanks for everybody's input, and look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, guys.